is about to begin. With green white dudes coming at you with some heat. Welcome to the School of Hot Takes.
Welcome back, everybody. This is the School of Hot Takes, back again with another episode. We got myself, Brian, and Dylan back, and we have a guest this episode. Welcome, Dawson. Happy to have you. Dawson is the biggest Lions fan in the world, we've been told, so can't wait to hear any hot takes about that. Uh, Lions, not the greatest team. They had a good season last year, but Eh, I'm sure it was just a fluke one season type thing, but I'm sure we'll get into that later. But today we are going to discuss some fantasy football, players that we like, players we don't like, who we think is going to be good, who's going to be bad, go into a whole bunch of details here. So, Dawson, I'll turn it over to you quick if you want to introduce yourself a little bit about how you became a Lions fan, why you're a Lions fan, uh, any sort of hot football takes right off the rip, anything along those
Yeah,
lines.
sure. Yeah, I'm Dawson. I'm friends with these guys, through fantasy football. I'm in two leagues with these guys. And then, yeah, how I became a Lions fan. Well, when I started watching the NFL, there was a year where the Lions started like 7-1 or something. I think it was maybe 2007, 2008. So being the young guy I was, I didn't want to like the same team as my brother or as my dad or my aunt and uncle. So I was like, hell yeah, I'm gonna like those guys because they're doing really good this year. And then they proceeded to lose the next 24 games in a row, including their own 16 season. And yeah, somehow I've stuck with it the whole time. The Matt Patricia years were hard, but I made it through them.
Nice. Love to hear it. Sad to
Nice.
hear about the Lions' fortune over the years. I was wondering when you started liking them because, like you said, they've kind of been bad for quite a long time. Some
Yeah.
decent seasons here and there, but glad we got
Hey,
them.
Megatron.
Hey, yeah,
Megatron is one of the
Matty
most fun
Stafford.
players I've ever seen play football. Yeah, they've had some good players over the years.
Hey, I
they
mean,
just haven't had the best teams. Yeah.
Matt Stafford,
Yeah.
legend, baby.
Oh yeah, Matt Stafford's a baller.
Let's get into some fantasy football talk here. So Dawson mentioned we're all in two leagues together and obviously separate leagues, not together, but I want to get talking into some redraft players here. We are in a redraft league and dynasty league, but for redraft players, I kind of enjoy that league a little bit more at the moment. Um,
Interesting.
Not that I
Interesting
don't
how you
enjoy
say that.
dynasty leagues, but redraft, especially during the draft portion of it, is just so much fun because there's that whole mystery behind it in a sense.
Let's pause there for a second because I'm really interested to hear. Do you guys have a draft strategy when you go into the draft? Do you do mock drafts? Do you go zero RB? Do you reach for a quarterback? I kind of want to go around the room here and hear what your strategies are for drafting before we get into player specifics.
Sure.
I'm kind of curious. Do you want me to start?
Yeah, you started, Brian. You
Yeah.
asked the question, Brian. So
Yeah,
Sorry,
yeah.
I'll start then. So I'm big into mock drafts. I love doing a mock draft. I'll probably end up doing my first mock draft in like 2 weeks or so. Doing my first mock draft once training camp starts really hitting the road. And the thing that I kind of look at when I'm doing mock drafts is I'm not trying to get all the players I want, or I'm not trying to like follow a specific strategy necessarily. I'm just getting a feel for how each season kind of falls apart. What players end up getting taken higher than their ADP, what players end up getting taken lower than their ADP, what positions in the draft make the most sense, snake draft, regular, standard, non-snaking draft, like where do players end up falling? So I don't usually go into the draft with an idea of, no, I'm not taking running back till round 3, or I'm going to, get this specific player. I'm like banking on this player. It's more about just kind of seeing how the draft falls. And I probably do too many mock drafts. I think it's the best part of fantasy football, so it's kind of hard to, keep myself off of doing a mock draft. I probably do like 10, 15 at the most. Try and do one every week or so. Try and do a new mock draft, and then right before the draft, I do like 2 or 3, just right before, like in the days or two before, just to again get a feel of like where players are getting taken. I will say, usually people on the internet, randos, it's kind of hit or miss. Sometimes they're really, really, really smart and they end up taking the players like they should, and then sometimes you get some wacky choices. But again, that's how all fantasy drafts go. So it's really interesting to do a bunch of those and see, who ends up reaching for their favorite player, who gets Jordan Love in the second round or something like that. So that's kind of my strategy. I don't really follow a particular scheme, but I do a lot of mocks.
See, I'm sort of on the other end of that. I will do like maybe 1, 2, maybe 3 mock drafts beforehand because I think the computer's just biased and picks the best overall player available. It doesn't quite factor into, like the no RB strategy, the
It
Well,
doesn't
mock
factor
drafts
in
usually don't
Caleb.
or what was that?
It doesn't factor in Caleb drafting 5 running backs in a row.
Right. It doesn't factor in the human touch to it, and it's just next available player is who it takes.
Isn't
for
aren't
most
mock
every
drafts
team.
usually with people?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Is usually you load it up with like 11 different strangers
Mm.
on like ESPN or Fantasy Pros, but
Yeah, see, I've not done those ones, and I've only done the computer ones, but yeah, the mock drafts for me just, like I said, with my experience with it, it's all just been like next best player gets drafted, like, and that could be 3 quarterbacks in a row or something along those lines. So it's tough to get like an actual feel, at least from my experience, on what players are going in what position, who's going to be better than who, sort of thing. It sort of just goes based on what system we're using and where they have them ranked. So mock drafts for me aren't that exciting in a sense. And like you said, even if you do get the random people, like they could just be fucking around, like taking it not serious whatsoever. So you always get those people who might draft a kicker in the first round and then a punter in the second, and it just sort of screws everything up from there. So
Yeah. I think I think Brian and I are kind of like on the same wavelength, except for I don't do as many mocks as Brian does, but I'm more interested in like the statistical analysis side of it.
mhm.
So I have a lot of like spreadsheets that have a ton of like uh
mm,
positional value charts, like positional scarcity and things like that. So typically like when we're drafting, I've run through a few scenarios in my head, and I've done a few mocks in the few like in the past, but like typically I've got like a spreadsheet open on one side, I've got the draft open on the other side, and then I'm updating it as we're going. And really, what I'm looking for is like I'm looking at like what the numbers are telling me, and just like I run from there. Like for me, I think like it's kind of hard. It really depends on the league, right? If we favor running backs or wide receivers in the league, because if it is a league where, like, personally, like our redraft league, I think like really favors the running back position.
Mm.
And during the season, it can become really, really hard to have 2 solid guys actually starting on your roster. So I think like it really depends on your league and things like that.
Yeah, it really sucks to follow that up. Out of the 4 of us, I definitely have the least strategy. I'll be honest with you, never done a mock draft in my entire life. I will probably never do a mock draft. I will also probably never do a single sliver of research besides when I get on, and then I go PPR top 100, and then while we're drafting, I just go down through there and I go, well, this guy seems all right. I'm gonna go with him this year. And fuck, like our league's pretty competitive. I won it. I've got like second before, and I'm gonna keep probably doing that because I think it's a waste of time to do research. So that's just me. And I just don't like it. Like I just can't get behind that stuff. I love watching football. I just I just can't get behind all the other stuff. But I also talk to these guys a lot, so I get some good insider knowledge. But yeah, definitely do the least amount of research. So
So
really slacking.
you don't come into the season like, okay, I'm definitely gonna take like an RB first, or like a
No,
running back or wide receiver or like tight end.
couldn't tell you what I'm gonna do right now. I have no idea what I'm gonna do.
Well, I was hearing the chatter. Calvin Ridley, first round last year. I was hearing that.
Dude,
I was
and I
hearing the
was so
chatter.
on that because that was the only guy I cared about. I told Brian I went to Baltimore probably like, I don't know, 3 weeks before, and we talked about two players, Trevor Lawrence and Calvin Ridley, and I got fucking burned on both of them, and I don't care. I don't care anymore. I'm done with it. I'm going back to my strat of winging it and hoping because neither one of them turned out.
I think week one it looked good. You looked really smart week one.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah,
I was like, fuck all you guys. Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
I do like to pick sleepers though. I do like to try to pick sleepers, like whether it be like a second or third year receiver that's going to on the come up, or like it could be a rookie. I'm terrible at actually picking good ones though. I was really behind Justin Ross last year. I don't know if he caught a fucking ball, to be honest with you. And I kept him until like week 10. Still just rode his ass out. He was terrible. But yeah, one of these years I'm going to find one and be like, yeah, that was me. That was me, man. So we'll see.
I will say the only piece of strategy that I really, really buy into from the fantasy community is like waiting to take a QB. And we'll talk about that. Maybe this is a great segue into one of the overrated, overdrafted players, I think. And that's Josh Allen, getting taken really, 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 really high. I have here ADP. He is getting taken 22nd overall, which is ridiculous. I think waiting over QB, that is a second round. Yeah, it's a late second round pick.
210.
Oh my God.
Right. Which is, really high. And you think about the players like behind Josh Allen that you could get, guys like Trevor Siemian, Brandon Ayuk, Jalen Waddle, Mike Evans, Derrick Henry, DJ Moore, just some guys right behind him that you could take. Instead of taking a quarterback, I would lean towards that. I love Josh Allen. I've talked about it a lot. Josh Allen's one of my favorite players to watch. However, fantasy-wise, I'm not sold that he will end the year as QB 1, 2, or 3. And we just did our quarterback ranking episode, and I had him pretty strongly at number 3. I moved him back a spot from last year where I had him above Lamar. But yeah, taking him at 22nd, taking him in the late second, that's too early for almost any quarterback. And I think that's way too early for a guy who, can we sit here and confidently say who his top 3 weapons are going to be next year? Probably not.
Well, according to Mitch, you're not going to take him till maybe never, honestly, because he's
See,
the
Josh
15th
Allen-
best QB.
Josh Allen is one of those quarterbacks that can perform on the field, but like Brian said, he's not a great fantasy quarterback. He's not
What
going
are
to
you talking about? He's a fantasy god.
I didn't say that, Mitch.
Last
Last year he's been like a top 3 quarterback for the last 4 years.
Yeah,
so
because
let's not go that.
I can't think of a week where he was like the number 1 quarterback.
What are you
There
talking
were
about?
there were plenty of weeks, I think.
Yeah.
No,
He-
Lamar,
we're starting
Patrick
early.
Mahomes, CJ
He
Stroud.
finishes with a rushing touchdown every game and
Yeah.
250 yards and 60 yards rushing. What are you
Mahomes
talking
had
about?
a historically bad fantasy year last year. I don't know if he really finished top
No,
one
he was
like
awful.
many
I
weeks at all.
had him in our other league. He was atrocious.
Yeah, I would be
Mitch,
interested.
I'll
I
tell
could
you
be
what.
wrong.
You're coming with the crazy takes, and we've been in this for 6 minutes, and it's always Josh Allen for some reason.
Wait, I'm gonna pull up how many
Pull up the
top
scoring for
QB
last year.
ones.
Josh Allen's top 3 for QBs, guaranteed. Yeah.
Mahomes, I
the
think
scoring?
Mahomes last year was,
He was
per
low.
game, Mahomes was like 10, 11, 12. He was like not even a top 10 quarterback fantasy-wise last year. Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson, those were the guys in the top 3. CJ Stroud was up there too. And per game fantasy scoring, which is,
Well, Mitch must have missed every single game, I guess, of the season. So
yeah, it's almost like I got to like bring my take back and be like, actually, I'm not as extreme about it as Mitch is. I still think Josh Allen will be a top 10 fantasy quarterback. I'm not going that far, even probably top 7. But
I would
taking
say
him
top
at 20,
5 even.
Yeah,
he's gonna have
taking
to
him at
do way
20.
more
I
than
just
he
never
used to.
have much faith in him. Like
Once again,
he's not going to be
everything you say,
consistently the top guy.
you're going down everything you say. It's getting worse.
Look, I think segueing off of like what Brian's saying, I've got a player that's drafted right now in ADP right next to Josh Allen that I'm also out on, which may be surprising because I'm a Lions fan. But Laporta at 2.9 is crazy to me. Absolutely
But the
insane.
volume though, the volume of targets he's averaging what, like
No,
11 looks a game?
take Amon-Ra St. Brown at 106.
Really? Over
Ooh,
Laporta?
I
100%.
I disagree.
I made a stupid amount of money last year because in FanDuel you can bet like every series who's going to get a catch. I just did it every single series Laporta, and
Yeah.
I made a stupid amount of money because he gets a catch like every freaking series.
I mean, I do think it's hard to say like, so for me, like onesie, maybe I've just been burned a few too many times on onesie positions, right?
That's
So
fair.
like last year, I was the Kelsey guy in the first round, right? So like
Mhm.
I got burned on Kelsey in the first round, so maybe I'm a little sour from that. But to me, I feel like the value you miss out on either on stud wide receiver or stud running back here, right? Like there's some guys around here that I also wouldn't be taking over Laporta. I'd rather have Laporta to Drake London, right? I think Drake London's massively overrated this year, or massively over. I like,
Drafted.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think I like him for this year, but I think Drake London at 2.6 is crazy to me.
I mean, I'm
I
not big
think-
on tight ends early anyway. I never really
Well,
take a tight end early.
Yeah,
So.
I think something that's really interesting that you guys are mentioning here is like we've at least since in the Travis Kelsey era and probably before that, we've always seen tight end 1 being a projected first, early second rounder. For Sam Laporta being tight end number 1 and him getting drafted 25th at ADP, like that's first pick in the third round for most leagues. That's not terrible. And I would rather have Sam Laporta, if you can manage it, I'd rather have Sam Laporta in the third than Amon-Ra in the first. I don't know. I'm a known Jared Goff hater, so I think some of his weapons are being overrated. But Sam Laporta did something incredible last year. I think he's definitely going to be a top 3 tight end. Maybe third round's a bit high, but I'd rather have him there than Amon-Ra in the first.
Well, see, like Amon-Ra's going mid first. Who are you taking over Amon-Ra than mid first, right?
In the mid first,
Yeah, so
I would
say
take at least 5 other receivers.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's a few other wide receivers.
Yeah, you say you're at 106.
Yeah, but
okay?
I agree with
Oh,
Dawson here because
106, okay,
CD's
yeah.
Yeah,
CD's
who's-
above him, Tyreek's above him, Jamar Chase, and Justin Jefferson are the only
Jefferson.
ones above him. So he's
Yes.
probably next.
And then it's like, oh, so are you going to take
Okay.
Brees Hall, who, hey, maybe Brees Hall is a great year, right? But Amon-Ra Brown is literally the safety net of Jared Goff, right? So,
Oh, yeah.
and Amon-Ra,
Yeah.
like, he doesn't go down, he doesn't drop balls, he will secure anything that comes his way.
Could you make an argument for Puka? At
He's
106
next
Yeah.
one.
instead?
He's
next
110.
one.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
110.
he's right below him, but I don't know.
I mean,
He had a great rookie year, but I don't know about him.
Yeah.
if the board falls the way it falls right now, I would be taking a running back over Amon-Ra. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, in our league,
Depends
like
who it
Dawson,
is, though.
it's hella value. Our league values right because if you get a running back hurt, your season's cooked. Like good luck.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
You're done.
Hey, if Amon-Ra gets hurt, you're cooked.
Well, I mean, maybe
really.
you can
I don't think so. You
get
can
There's
find
wide
value.
receivers you can use to replace him.
especially like rookies
But
and all
it's
kinds
the
of good
value.
stuff.
You wasted value.
True.
Sure,
yeah,
but
I mean,
like-
you're always going to waste value.
Yeah. You could
Have
waste
an
value
injury.
picking Christian McCaffrey first overall, and he's going to blow out his knee or something. Like,
Now, nice
Yeah,
job.
I
Now you're
wouldn't do
done.
that either. I
Yeah.
simply would not draft Christian McCaffrey first overall.
I'm just saying.
Really though, it's boom or bust. But like you're probably going to win a league if you get any other good player with him and he's healthy. Like that's just such a cheat code if he stays healthy.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of CMC. I'm going to be honest.
Really? He's just so good though. He's
For fantasy
Yeah,
statistically,
purposes, yeah,
yeah,
he's
Yeah,
great.
fantasy purposes, he's kind of a god. I think he's going to be 29 years old, and he's an injury prone running back.
Not the last 2 years,
The
though. The
offense
last
is
two
still
years,
got he's still got the 49ers offensive line and um, downfield weapons to help block and everything where he needs them to. So I mean, I think it was more he was getting injured on the Panthers because they didn't have that, and now that he's with the 49ers, it's severely increased his uh, draftability and usability. Like,
for sure. We're getting off topic here a little
yeah,
bit,
but
but
like,
hey, that's the whole
um,
point here. We just have little little topics and we stem off.
little
You know,
sweats. So I have
that's
another
how.
question. I have another Lions related question for the Lions fan since he's
Okay.
here. Another player I was low on is Jahmyr Gibbs.
Yeah.
What am I missing here? Why should I take him in the first round? Why is he a better running back than Saquon Barkley, Kyron Williams? Taking him in the first when I can take those guys in the second. What am I
I
missing?
think what you're missing is the offensive coordinator. So Ben Johnson has designed that offense, I think, perfectly for Gibbs. So yeah, maybe you're going to get some touchdowns vultured from Montgomery, right?
mhm.
But I
Right.
think at the end of the first, you're getting a great value for a running back. And I think honestly, Gibbs wasn't worked into that offense until after Montgomery was hurt around week 9 last year. So Gibbs really didn't take off until the second half of the season. And what you saw from that offense in the second half of the season was scary. Like, I mean, at one point in the Niners game, I would like this gives me trauma because like I thought we were going to the Super Bowl, right? But like I was like, holy shit, they can't stop Gibbs and Montgomery. Like they were just running all over them. I mean, the problem is who really can stop a running back tandem like that, right? Because
Yeah.
Gibbs gives you that elusiveness, Montgomery gives you the power, and Gibbs is also a weapon out of the backfield, in my opinion.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. He can catch. Yeah, great.
Oh,
He is
yeah.
great hand.
Do we think?
But
I was gonna say, do we think Montgomery's still gonna have that major role like he did at the first half of the season? Like,
Absolutely. Yeah. If it's not broke,
I
don't
do
fix it.
yeah, like that's why
100%.
I'm worried about taking Jahmyr Gibbs so high on any of these lists
Well,
because
he can turn like you saw like what Dawson's saying, like he would turn a little 5 yard freaking dump route. It's similar to Christian McCaffrey into a 20-yard burst, just like that. In
yeah,
fantasy turn, you only need one of those for a good day in fantasy. So like
I
his
guess.
his floor might not be great, but his ceiling is really high.
Yeah, and
He's gonna
say
have those weeks though that he's like at 0.
Yeah.
yeah, and say Montgomery goes down, the Gibbs value skyrockets at that point, right? So
Yeah.
I mean, just talking about Montgomery, that's a guy that I think he's a little low, honestly. Like even at I see him at like 6'6" here. I
Mhm.
mean, like I think I'd be comfortable taking him in the fifth round probably. But maybe that's just me. I mean, I'm biased, right? So uh I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I do think you bring up a good point, right? Like I don't think I would take Gibbs over guys like Brees Hall or Bijan, just because of the situation. But I think Kyron is also kind of a tricky situation. You know, what if he gets outplayed for that backfield?
Yeah, I think Gibbs is a good guy to get the handcuff. Might as well just get the handcuff with him and just ride that. It usually works.
It's for me though, it's like you said earlier, Joe, he could have one of those games where he only gets like 3 fantasy points. So it's like, do you start him every week and just hope he has a good game or like that one breakout
Flex
moment where
God,
he's,
man. Flex God.
I mean, I guess, but if you're
Are you
drafting that
drafting a
high,
player in the first round to be a
throw in
flex
flex.
god, though?
Like,
Yeah,
I
I mean,
don't,
if you're trying, like, it's a risk you got to take. Like that could either win you the league or lose it for you. Like
I feel
likewise,
like
you could.
you got to at least start him at that point.
Yeah.
He's also
It's
not
like
a
Priest.
3-point guy. I don't think he's just.
No, but
I don't think he's going out there and just catching one pass for 20 yards, right? Like, I think that offense is going to have really creative ways to get the ball around, right? Because you got to think about this too. Is Detroit doesn't have a lot of wide receiver weapons, to be honest. It's kind of Laporta, St. Brown, and then I mean, hopefully JMO gets into it this year. But then aside from that, I mean, you got to run the ball.
yeah.
Don't disrespect Donovan Peoples-Jones like that.
Solid pickup.
That was a good trade last year for sure.
Someone I want to
Yeah.
talk about quick, if you guys don't mind switching players here, is Derrick Henry. I mean, is he?
Fade him. Fade him. I'm big fade.
I don't know how he's gonna operate with Baltimore this year. I mean,
He's old as fuck. He's
I
old.
agree. That's
Fade
why
him.
All right.
he's still projected pretty high on a lot of.
Oh, geez. Brian's got a boner over here. I can see it top. Look at it. At the bottom of the camera. You can fucking see it here. Look at it. Go ahead. Go off, Baltimore boy.
I'm not going off.
Yep.
Let me just ask the question of I don't think he's underrated or overrated. I think where he's being drafted is exactly where I would take him. I mean,
Where
he's
is he?
RB10. He's
What is he?
RB10.
What round
He's
is this?
RB10. He's projected third round, but he's a running back. So RB10. The guys in front of him we've kind of already talked about, where it's ETN, it's A-Chain, it's Williams, Barkley, Taylor, Gibbs, Brees, Bijan, and CMC. None of those guys. I would not take Derrick Henry over most of those guys. Maybe I would take them over A-Chain, and maybe I would take them over the guy we just talked about. But besides that, who else are you like? No, this guy's definitively better than Derrick Henry.
Are you taking him as RB1?
We also just talked about how
Derrick Henry would be more of the flex player for me, but I still even see just because of his age. Well, Dylan,
what do you mean? Is he
I don't know if you would draft him to be RB1. Like, is that who you would pick? Is like you would be comfortable with him being your RB1?
If here's a scenario, I would love to have Derrick Henry in is you go top tier receiver 1, top tier receiver 2. Derrick Henry is your best running back in the third round. I think that's amazing. You get somebody like Justin Jefferson or CeeDee Lamb in the first round, double back, get someone like Jalen Waddle, Deebo Samuel, and then you get Derrick Henry to boot. That's a pretty good first 3 rounds, if you ask me.
Yeah. If that's your strat going like high on both. Yeah, I like that. I think that would work out.
You can flip it the other way and get another running back, and then Derrick Henry's your running back too.
I agree. Like you can go somebody like Jamar Chase or Amon-Ra. Like say you're in the middle of the round, 105, 106. You can get somebody like Jamar or Amon-Ra, and then you can wheel like Saquon round 2, and then go Derrick Henry. That is a nasty start. I mean,
I think that's really like his position. I like where he's at.
I think
I just don't know.
Issue with Derrick Henry is just his age, and I don't know how he's going to fit in with Baltimore there.
Well, they love to run the ball, so he's going to fit in.
I think that's the important thing is Baltimore's a team that's going to run the fuck out of the ball, and Derrick Henry's going to get a lot of touchdowns. I mean, imagine Lamar Jackson read options on the goal line with Derrick Henry. That's going to be unstoppable. They're both going to get 10 touchdowns this year rushing. I have no doubt in my mind that they're going to hit that double-digit mark. I think the thing to be worried about as a Derrick Henry fantasy owner, I took him when he was bad, and I drafted him every year after that his rookie year. He sucked, and I took him almost every single year after that because I saw potential. He's fucking massive. He's giant. He does not warm up until about week 8. He has a lot of games where he starts the season 40, 50 yards, maybe a touchdown here and there. And yet, despite that, the reason to get excited about Derrick Henry is despite that slow start, he always finishes in the top 5. He goes balls to the wall weeks 8 through 14 when your championship is probably going to be happening, 15, 16, wherever that championship is. Derrick Henry is going balls to the wall for the second half of the season. And I could see that happening again with Baltimore. I could see them kind of easing him into the offense. Then by December, he's scoring 20, 30, 40 fantasy points a week because that's just the kind of guy he is.
It's a good point. You might have talked me into thinking about him. Thank you.
Hey.
I don't know. I'm still gonna have some reservations about it, honestly. But I mean, if he's
If
there,
he's
like
like,
obviously, if
yeah,
he's the best available player, like it's gonna be
yeah,
hard
the
to turn
third
him
round.
down. But I think anyone
Yeah.
looking at him at that position just has to consider a few factors.
I think he's another guy. You could see him fall, and you can see him getting reached for.
Mhm.
I think there's a lot of
Yeah.
hype around him, and I think that could lead someone. Maybe we
Second
have a
round.
Ravens fan in our league who
be.
might reach for him, take him in the first round for some reason.
First or
But you could
second, or
also, yeah, you could have some leagues where people are like, he's old, and everyone just kind of agrees he's old, he's
Mhm.
slow, okay, and they kind of move past him. And if you're in a league like that and he falls to the fourth or the fifth round, you take him instantly.
Yeah.
You get him. There's no debate. No, don't think about it. Take him if he falls that far.
So spinning off Derrick Henry, I'll pose this question to Mitch since he's the Houston guy in here.
Sure.
Would you rather have Diggs or Henry on your team in the third round?
It's a good question.
Henry. Give me Henry, bro.
I don't
Come
know.
on.
I'd probably take Diggs at this point.
Oh my God, he's been fucking terrible.
Yeah, I think I'm tremendously out on Diggs in the third round. I'd much
Really
rather
not.
have Nico.
Nico, yeah,
Oh, well,
Nico.
yeah,
Tank's
Nico,
coming
yeah.
back. Dude, he's gonna be
Yeah.
a WR3 on that team. No way.
He's fighting for targets, I feel like,
Yeah.
honestly.
I would definitely have
But
Nico over
and
Diggs, yeah.
yeah, but like, and his track record of like when he doesn't get the target, he throws a temper tantrum. It's not fair. I want the
I
ball.
still
And
think
like he's
I
gonna.
still think we're still gonna see a lot of improvement from CJ Stroud, where he's gonna be able to, read the field a lot better. And I think that's just
CJ
gonna
Stroud was already slinging dick.
I
He was
understand.
slinging that dick.
I
I don't
think
know how much more.
well, I'm just saying, okay, Brian. I don't know.
Sorry,
I
I
think
got my tape measure ready to go.
I'm not like super
Slinging
sold
3
on
inches.
Diggs or anything, but um, I think if he can find that connection with CJ Stroud, like I don't think he's gonna have a bad season by any standards. Like he's gonna have a pretty decent year. I think he's gonna do great. Like you said, I'd rather take Nico Collins over
Yeah,
Diggs.
okay, because they're right next to each other in ADP. It's actually really interesting. I see like 3-3-3-4. So
Yeah.
Diggs 3-3, Nico 3-4. I would definitely take Nico over
Oh,
Diggs.
100%.
Where do you think?
That's-
Like more fifth, sixth round for Diggs? Fifth or
For
sixth?
I keep falling that
yeah,
far yet, but I mean, I could also see someone taking him in
Yeah,
the
he
third
probably
round where
won't.
he's projected. Like I don't think anyone's really gonna reach for him.
His
But
name, I think his name will get someone to reach
it's a
name
for
lot
him.
of name
recognition is
power.
like
Yeah.
the only reason why people would reach for him. But I think if you're like a smart fantasy player, you're probably gonna take him around the third round, maybe late second. But like, I don't think anyone's taking him first round. I don't think anyone's taking him early second. And I could see a lot of people letting him fall to even like the fourth round. Like
I mean, he's only 30, so like,
he is
yeah,
fighting
we'll
for
see.
WR3 position though, and you have better receivers on the team. So it's like,
Yeah,
why
better
take
rapport
Diggs?
already.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Tank Dell is coming off an injury, so I think Stephon Diggs will at least be WR2 in that
Yeah.
offense.
Yeah.
But there's still a lot of weapons. Dalton Schultz, Joe Mixon is a pass catching running back typically. There's just a lot of targets. When you look at fantasy, I always hear experts talk about look for the vacated targets. This is an offense where the targets aren't really being vacated. They're instead getting spread more out. I'm honestly kind of out on all of the Texans' weapons and at their current ADP anyway. I think they're all a little bit reaches.
Is there any players that you guys have seen that you're surprised that their ADP is really low or anything along those lines?
Low or high? What do you mean? What do you mean
Well,
by that?
I didn't know if there was
Like
like
they're
any,
low on the list. Are you saying
yeah,
like
You
they're
like
want,
really?
you want to talk about
players
some
players
sleepers?
that you
Yeah.
think you would
Some
draft high, but like
sleepers.
are projected to go third, fourth round, something along those lines. Like players that you're pretty high on, but are surprised they're being drafted that low.
Well, my boy George Pickens is like wide receiver fucking 20, so that makes me sad. He's
I want to talk
29.
about some
Why
sleepers. Let's talk
that
sleepers.
makes me sad. All right, sleepers it is. I
Let's
like
go
it.
outside the first 4 rounds.
Yeah.
Sure.
Let's go
Okay.
outside.
Yeah, I'm ready. I got this. And it's a rookie.
Go for it.
All right, let's hear it, Dawson. Go first.
I'm in on Lad McConkey in the 8th round.
Let's
Yeah,
go.
Brian was gonna say that.
I yeah,
Brian,
Herbert needs a safety net, and I think Ladd fills that role perfectly. He's kind of like
Hmm.
Amon Ra-esque to me. He kind of reminds me a lot of like the role that Amon Ra fills for Goff. I think he could fill it perfectly for Herbert. And same with like how he Puka filled in for Stafford last year. I think it's kind of a similar situation.
Yeah, I've said it before. I love Lad McConkey. I think another comparison, and maybe this is too obvious of a comparison, but Lad McConkey looks a lot like Keenan Allen, a guy who's probably going to operate in the slot, but is a really good route runner with really good hands. And, I could totally see him kind of taking over that offense by week 3 or 4 and just being the go-to guy for Justin Herbert.
Yeah, and I think what you said earlier about vacated targets is a huge thing in this offense. Who else does Herbert have to throw to?
Quentin, what's his name? Who's that bum? Who's
Yeah,
that bum they
I don't
drafted?
remember.
Oh, Quentin
Quentin
Johnson.
Yeah,
Quentin Johnson.
Johnson. Yeah. Who's that
Yeah,
bum?
who Mitch, by the way, Mitch traded for in a league, says he thinks he has promise.
Hey, you
He's
never
big.
know.
He's a big guy, but
he's on the trade block
Big
still,
bust.
right?
he's
He is on the trade block, but you never
Big
know.
fucking bust. That's
It
what
is a
it is.
dynasty league, so he could
wow.
have a good season upcoming here, or in like 5 years, maybe something along those lines. But we'll see.
Okay. I think
I've got another
go.
guy.
Hmm.
Um, Switching to running back, another sleeper, and this guy is projected 80th RB23, but I think he has potential to crack that top 10. That is Zamir White for the Las Vegas Raiders.
I
Um,
like it.
on like vacated targets, let's talk about vacated rush attempts. Zamir White is the lead back. I think this is something that not a lot of people are talking about. They're going to be talking about it in a month, maybe 6 weeks. Once that first couple of preseason games start to happen, they're going to be like, "Why is Zamir White getting the heavy share of that workload?" And it's because they believe in him. I think that they really like him as a running back. They showed that last year as Josh Jacobs was on his way out. They gave him more and more and more carries. And now the only competition he has in that backfield is Alexander Madison. And all the rumors coming from camp is that Alexander Madison might also be a cut candidate. Like he is not showing up as a RB1. So Zamir White being drafted right now at 80. I'm not sure if that's going to hold. If you are drafting, if you do July drafts, Zamir White is a steal. I think by the time our particular league drafts, which will be in August, I think Zamir White's going to be closer to a 5th-round ADP. I think he's going to kind of shoot up to that RB 15, 16 range. But right now at RB 23, Zamir White, he's the man. Go get him. And he's good. I think he's a 3-down back. To kind of keep going on. Like he's a powerful back, but he's got good hands. He was in there for 3 downs on a lot of drives last year, and I think it really sucks. The one game that he finally got to start, that game that Josh Jacobs was hurt against the Chargers, ended up being a huge blowout. So they ended up like kind of putting some other guys in, like Brandon Bolden.
Hmm.
Some other weird running backs ended up putting in, but Zamir White was looking really good while that game was competitive last year.
I like it. I like it.
I
I
was gonna
like
say
it
someone
too.
I wanted to bring up that I might be looking at in the later rounds is Xavier Legette. Um, I don't know
Legette.
Legette,
Huh, you don't
however you
fucking
say it.
say.
Um, Obviously taking him later on in the draft. I don't even know how to say his last name, but um, I don't think he's going to be super high on anyone's draft board right off the bat.
Hmm.
But I think he's someone who's worth taking that risk on if he can connect with Bryce Young. I mean, the Panthers, I don't really know a lot of their weapons, and if he can integrate himself in there pretty quick, I think he's going to be pretty high value maybe later on in the season. First couple weeks, not too sure, but I think he's someone definitely worth taking a risk on later on in the draft.
I wonder. I think someone said that on our very first episode. I wonder who said that. Wonder who that was. That's really
Either way, Mitch,
Yeah.
great take. I agree. I think Leggett. I think you also hit the nail on the head with his production because I feel like he probably won't start the season. But by the end of the
Deontay
season,
Johnson. I mean, come on.
I mean those Panthers with Deontay Johnson and Adam Thielen, John Mingo, Terrence Marshall. Like there are some guys there that are probably going to start over Leggett, but Leggett is good enough that he's going to take over a starting role.
What's he
And
playing for WR3 right now?
I think I don't know if none of their depth charts are really official yet because they haven't done any cuts. But
Yeah.
Leggett would probably be looking at WR4 at the moment.
Okay.
But again, he is going to beat out Adam Thielen. Adam Thielen is a 34-year-old white man. He's going to beat out Adam Thielen. He's probably going to beat out Jonathan Mingo and Terrence Marshall because those guys haven't like.
He's listed as WR3. He already did. He's listed as WR3.
Who did he beat out? Terrence Marshall. I mean that makes sense. He's a first round.
He beat out Terrence Marshall. Yeah, it's Deontay Johnson, Adam Thielen, and Xavier.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
he's someone
They're
that
working it.
it's almost like a risk to take him because he could have a really bad season and just not get a lot of targets or not produce. But I think he's definitely worth taking a risk on later on if you're looking for some depth in your roster or that like random flex spot during some bye weeks that you need. I think he could be like a good fillable player later towards the back half of the season. Definitely.
Yeah, and maybe if the Panthers didn't fucking suck, I'd think about that.
That true. That is true.
If we're drafting Panthers WR3s, you're in some real fucking trouble. I'm gonna tell you.
Well, like I said, I'm not drafting him in like the
No
second or
offense.
third round, but like if he's one of the last couple guys I get in the draft, like I wouldn't be upset about it at all. Like
No, I like that. I like the take.
Yeah, well, I'm probably gonna get him. So just let me know.
love it. Please.
I think another guy that maybe it's not until later in the season, but I do think could play a role on the team that he got drafted to. Definitely with contract negotiations that are spiraling right now is Ricky Pearsall.
Oh shit! Yeah, good call.
I think if Ayuk and the 49ers have a falling out, I think Ricky Pearsall could fit really well into that offense. And right now he's being drafted in like round 13. So whether you don't draft him or not, or just like watch and see if he gets incorporated into offense more and more over time, I think he's a guy that could like have some relevance, possibly later towards this end of the season, but
I don't
definitely
know
a chance.
I don't know that I'd be so high on him in like a redraft league as much as I would some other wide receivers, just because the talent on the 49ers right now, it's hard seeing him get a lot of playing time. But like picking him up as like a rookie in Dynasty League or something along those lines where you can keep a hold of him and hope for that potential to develop, I think that's definitely worth taking him in that type of league. But redraft
WR4
redraft
right now.
Oh yeah, they have Juwan Jennings above him probably.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah. Juwan Jennings, Brandon Ayuk, Debo. Yeah, and then him.
Who's above him?
They run 4 wide receiver sets though. Like he'll get on the field and he'll probably make an impact with just the way they run their offense, I would assume.
And I also think we'll be talking about an Ayuk trade here soon. I don't think he stays on the team. It'll be interesting to see where he goes. Jaguars, Steelers, I think, are the leaders for trading for Ayuk, but I don't think there's any chance Ayuk plays for the Niners next year.
Yeah, it sounds like he wants to be there, but they don't want him. So,
yeah, it's tricky. The most recent thing I saw is that they told him that they've never been in trade talks, and then it came out that the Commanders tried to trade for him on draft night, and he was like, "Oh wait, I thought you guys told me that you weren't trying to trade me earlier." So I think that's a relationship that's a bit broken. But yeah, if that happens, Ricky Pearsall, I think, will immediately become an impact player. He'll be WR2 on that team probably.
Can run some nasty
player I want to talk about quick. Caleb Williams. I just want to see where you guys are thinking to take him in any sort of redraft league, because Dylan and Brian, if you don't know Dawson, are very high on him and think he's going to be
Mitch thinks he's a
the next
bust.
greatest thing.
I know.
So I'm curious where you guys think he should go in like a redraft. I mean, Dynasty, pretty obvious, at least top three picks, but redraft leagues, I'm not sure where you would consider taking him if you had to.
Sixth round, 6 to 9,
I'm
somewhere
not
in there.
going. I'm not going anywhere until like 10th round probably. I'm not looking
Hmm.
at him until that range.
Just
I
just because of the sheer volume, I'm going 6 to 9. I think his fantasy value, I think he's got a lot more value than probably real life.
Yeah, this kind of takes me into another take that I had, which is that this is a really good year to wait and draft a bunch of rookie quarterbacks in your redraft leagues.
Mhm.
I think again, I already talked about how guys like Josh Allen are being taken too high. Guys like Patrick Mahomes are taken too high. Lamar, I kind of get it. I think the rushing upside is there, so him in the third makes sense. Um, but to take like Jaden Daniels as like QB, what is he going? QB 10, 12 or something like that. Or Caleb Williams is going as QB 14. I think those are guys that you want to target as potential, hey, here's a guy to kind of chill on my bench. And maybe by the end of the season, he's like putting up big boy numbers. I think Jaden Daniels and Caleb Williams in particular are going to beat their ADP. I think they're going to be better than their ADP. I think that's not. I'm trying to find Jaden Daniels.
I
Where is it?
see him. I see him at 10-10.
10-10. So yeah, I mean that's
Around
yeah.
there.
Again, if you left the draft with a solid team, you don't have a quarterback yet, and you're in the fifth and sixth and seventh rounds, I think that would be a really good move. Is to take a rookie quarterback or two of them, take both of those guys, or take an established guy, take a Herbert. And take a Jared Goff, take someone else in that
Yeah,
range.
I
Trevor
was gonna,
Lawrence is going right after Caleb in this on Fantasy Pros. So
I
yeah,
was gonna say the same thing. I feel like some of the vet guys they kind of fall to really late rounds, and you can kind of find yourself in a really good value position. Like I think a lot of people who fell into Dak last year found themselves in that situation, right, where Dak was being really undervalued, and a lot of people just they weren't interested. But Dak at the end of last year was winning people fantasy leagues. Um, so I think there's guys like that that you can find and then pair them with those rookie QB upsides so that if those vet guys don't have the year that you're expecting, maybe one of those guys steps up.
yeah,
Uh, Also in our league, just obviously it's not like every other league, but we do pay for rookie of the year, and I think it's a pretty fucking good lock that Caleb Williams, unless he shits the absolute bed, will probably get it just because of the publicity he has. He'd have to do some really bad stuff to get that.
yeah.
So
It's a quarterback award. They've made that clear. Justin Jefferson's year that it's a quarterback award. So
yeah,
it's going to go to the best rookie quarterback. So that's going to be between Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels probably.
and
Though
Bo Nix, man, what the hell? No, I'm just
Hey,
kidding.
don't count out Drake May.
I love Drake May. I think he'll be great,
Fuck
but
Drake May.
he's going to have to be really good to beat Caleb Williams.
Yeah, on the Patriots when he wins 2 games, and it's like, oh shit, I fucking suck.
Wow. Well, that's disrespectful to the Patriots, I'd say.
Well, fuck the Patriots too. I don't care.
Yeah, they had enough good years in them.
Right.
Yeah, fuck them. I hope they win less than 20 games the rest of my life.
Jeez.
Well, hey, that transitions me great into another sleeper. I'll get right to it. Jacoby Myers. Or not Jacoby Myers. What's his name? Kendrick Bourne. Sorry, Jacoby Myers, former
Really?
Patriot. Kendrick Bourne being drafted like WR 70, something like that. Just a guy that is like irrelevant. But Kendrick Bourne, people forget he was the WR1 by far on the Patriots last year before he got hurt. He was a
That is
guy
much
that
too bad.
was he had 3 consecutive weeks. And I know this because I picked him up on the waiver wire. But he had 3 consecutive weeks where he had over 10 points because he got into the end zone because he was leading the team in targets. And I think if he's healthy, he's a guy who's going to come right back in and he's going to do that exact same thing. He was a free agent, so he got hurt and he was a free agent. They re-signed him. They extended him. You do not extend somebody coming off an injury if you are not going to use him. So I think I messed up his name there in the beginning, so I'm sorry. But Kendrick Bourne, sleeper for sure. And again, I'm not I'm not finding his exact position. I've been scrolling around on the fantasy pros here, but he is like undrafted on fantasy pros. And so he's a guy who's going to be fantasy relevant this year. If you can take him in the last couple of rounds of your draft and put him on your bench, he's going to fill in on those bye weeks and he's going to be productive. Like he's going to get targets, he's going to get touchdowns, he's going to get catches. And even with Drake May, even if you're out on Drake May, I promise you Drake May is going to be better than who they had last year. So you got to think about that too.
I don't trust anybody on the Patriots right now. Nobody. None.
I trust one guy, and he is somebody that I like the value of, Ramondre.
Yeah.
It seems like they're in on Ramondre for the future, and I like where he's going at least. You're seeing end of the 6th, top of the 7th for a guy that has top RB12 potential, I'd say, with the catching upside and rushing upside. I mean, he had a down year last year, but don't let the recency bias get to you, I think.
Yeah, I just can't. I don't know. Like, I mean, Mac Jones won Rookie of the Year, didn't he, when he was at the Patriots, and they sucked then. So, like, what are we doing?
Well, he took them to the playoffs his first year, so I assume
well,
that's
yeah,
it. But
yeah, well, they averaged like 10 points, and it was not because of him. That's for fucking sure. And it probably wasn't because of Kendrick Bourne either. That's for damn sure too. I don't think he did much.
One player I want to check in with you guys for is Trey McBride.
Yeah, he's a fucking
going to have
stud.
a pretty decent fantasy season this year. I know you guys talked about Kyler last episode having like a breakout season this year. I don't know how he's going to do with Trey McBride. I mean, Trey McBride last year, at least in my mind, not bad, but not great by any standards.
Oh, he was a stud. Hell yeah, dude.
I agree. I tried to trade for him at the trade deadline in the Dynasty League.
Yeah.
And I got absolutely fleeced to end up with Dalton Schultz because Mark Andrew was injured.
That's funny. I love Trey McBride. He's a guy I think could finish tight end 1. Like, really? I think he has a better
top
shot.
5. Top 5 is a lot.
I mean, yeah, top 5 is almost a lock at this point. But I really think that he's got a better chance at 1 than Laporta or Kelsey or Kittle.
Wow.
I just think he's got a better shot than some of the established guys. And that's obviously because Kittle was getting up there in age. He's injury prone. Kelsey is getting up there in age. Laporta's in kind of an interesting offense where we're not sure if he's going to be able to replicate. He's coming off an injury. He's got a lot of weapons. There's, it's just interesting. And then you pair that with the fact that Trey McBride and Marvin Harrison Jr. are basically the only guys we're throwing to on the Cardinals team. I think he's going to get 60, 70.
They still have what's-his-face, Greg Dortch or whatever?
They do have Dortch, yeah.
Nice.
Let's not talk about Greg Dortch like he's relevant. Let's not talk about him.
Oh, sorry, Kendrick Bourne. Sorry. Yeah, Kendrick Bourne. You brought him back. You can't find him on the fucking list.
Fucking take that back. Kendrick Bourne was relevant.
I'm thinking, though, if you reached on Trey McBride this year, it might not be a bad look in the long run.
All right, you talked me into it. Thanks.
Yep. Keep that in mind.
I think, honestly, in some leagues, he might drop. Like, even from where he is. Like, I'm seeing, like, I see 4-7. And I could see a world, at least in our league, right? I feel like our league is kind of out on tight ends a lot of the time. Like, people are kind of low on tight ends. I could see in our league him dropping into the 5th round easily.
Mark Andrews was drafted over Justin Jefferson 2 years ago.
So, well, that's because of a bias. A big bias.
I will say, though, I do like to grab that number 1 tight end spot or number 2 tight end that I think is going to be for the season. So just to lock that position down, because tight end is usually such a hard position to fill outside of the top 3 or 4 guys. So if you're saying Trey McBride is going to be in that top 3 conversation, I could definitely see a lot of people reaching for him. And if he does produce, it would definitely be a really, really good look.
Fuck it. First round. Trey McBride. Here I come.
Not saying first round, but I mean, like, taking him in the late 2nd or 3rd or something like that. If
he's being drafted in the 4th. He's being drafted in the 4th round.
I'd take him 3rd.
Would you take him in the 3rd round?
Yeah.
If I'm late 3rd, I think
Yeah,
if you're
I
late
can see
third,
it.
you would take the chance on him
If
probably.
you're 10, 11, 12, he gets as much volume as like a mid round WR2. Like he gets a hella good volume. Like I definitely would take him.
I mean,
If you're 10,
not to play
11,
devil's
12,
advocate, not to play devil's advocate, but we have not seen him as a starter for a full year yet. So to take him in the third round over, again, we talked about this with like,
Yeah.
who do we talk about this with? Like Stephon Diggs and other
Yeah.
players where it's like, are you taking some of these guys that high above other guys when there's proven players sitting there, especially, you're going to take a tight end.
But if you're talking that he's
Kendrick
going to
Bourne,
be that high,
I don't know.
Brian,
If
if he's going to
Kendrick
be in the
Bourne or like
conversation of
Trey
top 3 tight ends, then you have to consider taking him that high and almost take that risk. Like if it pays out for you, that's a really, really good look for you.
Yeah, if you're getting tight
Okay.
end 1, I guess.
So we're talking third round here.
Yeah.
Third
I'm
round.
sorry,
Would you
end of
take?
if you're 10, 11, 12, what's at the end of the third? Not high third. We're talking end of
Well,
the
yeah,
third.
I'm because I'm going to give you hear me out. I'm going to give you a theoretical here.
Okay.
You're in the third round. No tight end is taken yet.
Okay.
No tight end is taken. Sam Laporta, Travis Kelce, Trey McBride, Mark Andrews, Dalton Kincaid are the top 5 tight ends. You're in the third round. You're dead set for some reason on taking a tight end. Who do you draft at the third round with 5 guys left? With those 5 being there.
Probably Laporta.
Do you still?
for me.
But okay, so you don't take Trey McBride that early then.
True, but I also don't think there's going to be no tight ends taken until that late in the draft. Like there's always going to be tight ends taken in the first and second round. Like even
But what I'm saying is
you're going to see Kelce go, you're
going
going to see Laporta go, you're going to see Mark Andrews go in the first and second round. Like those guys are going to be gone.
here's what I'm saying.
Position, it's going to be tough to fill.
This is what I'm saying, though, Mitch, because their ADP tells us, and this is different than years past. Their ADP is telling us that they are not being drafted in those high rounds. Sam Laporta is projected late second. Travis Kelce is not. He's projected late third. Trey McBride is projected mid fourth. Mark Andrews mid fourth. So what I'm saying is, say the draft falls the way that it should fall.
Oh, then I'll wait. Yeah, I'll wait.
Of course.
Yeah, I'll wait. If there's no tight ends coming off the board, then I'll wait. Yeah.
But if you are in the third round and you want a tight end, what I'm hearing is we would not be drafting Trey McBride over Travis Kelce.
I think it would be. I think I would take him over. I would take him over Travis Kelce because Travis doesn't try. He openly says that until the playoffs, or if it doesn't count. Like, he doesn't care. He says that. He says he waits now. He's got to time his stuff. Like so, I'm not taking him. And I think Laporta, Trey McBride, Mark. I think all of those top guys. It's marginal. It's week to week. So like, I would do it. I would probably take him. And honestly, I'm going to think back to this conversation. Like, if Kendrick Bourne's up there, I'm going to struggle. But you know what I mean? Like,
okay.
I think it's an interesting point just because, like, I think the drop off between the top 2 tight ends to like, if you don't get one of the top 2 tight ends, you might as well have just waited until round 6 or 7 to draft a tight end. In my opinion.
Yeah, but they go back and
That's
forth
usually
like
how
every
it
year.
is.
Every year it's like
Exactly, and that's why it's not worth it.
Yeah. No, I see what you guys are saying. Like, so are you guys on the? And I guess our league historically has been to just wait. Like, do you have a round where you're like, I'm comfortable taking a tight end? Is it 4th, 5th, 6th?
Like I said earlier, I'm pretty high on the taking a tight end relatively early just to lock that position down because, like you said, the talent wise and fantasy value sort of drops off where the top 1 or 2 guys, if I can get them and they're going to be scoring me 15 points a week compared to 5, that's an extra 10 points just right off the bat there that I can get for an easy pick and still get quite a lot of good value out of a lot of other running backs and wide receivers.
I don't think I've ever taken a tight end that high, honestly. Sometimes a couple years I've just streamed them like straight up, just been like, well, fuck it, I'm just gonna stream one every week. I don't think it's a great strategy, but like I have thought about because you see every year someone takes a Travis Kelce or something like that in the first 2 rounds, and they usually like they do okay. We've got some guys in our league that do that, and sometimes they have really good success. But I think I see what Dawson and Brian are saying, where it's risky because like you could get fucking Trey McBride could suck.
Yeah,
like, he could do really bad this year, and then you're stuck with a 3rd round guy that you could have got in the 8th round, and now what are you going to do?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and
And
to be
I think,
fair,
sorry, go ahead.
to be fair, I was the Mahomes. I was the Mahomes Kelsey guy last year. Like I went Kelsey first round, Mahomes second round. I'm pretty sure. So, like, I mean, I did fine, but I feel like if I had taken those picks and used them a little wiser, hey, maybe I would have ended up in a bit of a better position.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so what it sounds like is a lot of people who end up taking a tight end early kind of regret it, even if it wasn't necessarily a terrible move. I don't think Kelsey in the first was a terrible move. And for my money, give me David Njoku in the 7th. Give me Brock Bowers in the 9th. Give me Dallas Goedert in the 10th. Give me those guys above Trey McBride in the 3rd.
Where's TJ? Where's TJ going right now?
He's
TJ
late,
Hawkinson.
9,
He's
8.
going. Yeah, he's going in the
He's
10th
low.
as well.
Is it because of the QB? Is that what
No,
it
I
is
think it's
there?
injury.
Injury.
He got his knee shattered at the end of last year.
Oh fuck yeah!
that's
Was
right,
that
yeah.
ACL?
I'm not sure what it was.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah. Well, assuming he comes back okay, maybe. Yeah. Oh, Brock Bowers is a good shout out there. I didn't even think about that.
Tight end is interesting. Here's another question, because I love asking questions here, guys.
Mhm.
It would not be a fantasy podcast if we did not talk about one Kyle Pitts. Are we in? Are we out? Where are we at on Kyle Pitts this year, guys?
I am out. I had him. I think I had him in one of my leagues in his rookie year, and he was okay. But I think it might have been I took him too high. I think I took him in 4th or 5th round or something along those lines, and the value just wasn't there for me when I did take him, and I avoided him after that the following year, and I don't really regret it. So I'm not. If he's there and he's like best available for the position, I wouldn't mind taking him, but he's not going to be like my number one go-to type of guy. So
I think I'm in. He doesn't have the worst starting QB throwing to him, Desmond Ridder, anymore, so that's good. Or the second worst starting QB, whatever the fuck, Tyler Heineke, whatever Heineken fucking
Taylor
beat him.
Heineke.
yeah,
So he's not throwing to him either. I think he'll be better. I think the hype was ridiculous around him, and he's probably never going to live up to what that was. But I think he'll be suitable depending on where you get him. I don't know. I don't know. He's kind of mid. He's kind of mid right now. But he always says they don't use me right, and that's probably true so far. So maybe I don't know. Maybe this new coach, offensive coordinator, can figure him out, I guess.
I like him. I don't like him at his ADP.
What is it?
5'9".
Yeah, I have him at 64, so 6th round around that area.
Yeah, like late 5th, early 6th.
Right.
So is that the second tight end? Is that first or second tight end?
He's 6.
Oh yeah, we talked about those other guys. Yeah, okay. 6 tight end.
And I think he's one of the guys where they say, like, the recency bias of him sucking for the past 2 or 3 years because he's been in a shitty situation. And also shitty situation, and also the hardest position probably in the NFL to adapt to from college ball. I think that I like him. I don't know if I think if he dropped to like late 6, early 7, I'm totally in, because he's the type of guy where you can get a Sam Laporta type thing. I think he could be a guy that could just be your tight end 1 this year randomly. And I mean, not that it would be surprising. He's got like a ton of talent, right? So I like him. I just, at the current ADP, I'm kind of out, but I am actively trying to wheel and deal for him in Dynasty.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Brian?
I think Kyle Pitts is freaky deaky, dude. He's such an interesting player to watch, and
What the
even
fuck
though
did
he
you
has,
just say?
I said
What the
freaky
fuck?
deaky.
Oh my god! Start
He's
over.
freaky.
What the hell?
He's been a nasty tight end, bro. He's nasty. Um, he even if you go watch tape, and I'll tell you this because I watched a lot of Desmond Ritter. If you go watch even games where he doesn't produce, he's doing some incredible things. Like he is a phenomenal athlete. And so, yeah, I do believe if he was given the targets and he's given the routes, I think he absolutely could be a top 5 tight end. I'm not willing to draft him in his current ADP just because this is a round where I drafted him last year. I drafted him in the 5th last year in a league, and I was disappointed with that pick. I was like, oh, you know what? He's kind of cooled down, taking him late 5th, early 6th. That's where I'm taking him. And it didn't work out. And I regret not taking a depth running back or a depth receiver or a second quarterback or something at that point in that league because I had drafted Lamar Jackson pretty high in that league. But that was something that I kind of regretted doing. I think at his current ADP, it's kind of tough. If he's sitting there in the 5th or 6th round, I think I'm probably just going to like chill on tight end and wait and take somebody later. Like I said, David Njoku was really good last year. Brock Bowers has potential. Owen Schultz is even farther down that list. Take one of those guys super, super late before you reach for Kyle Pitts. But if he falls to the 7th or 8th round and he's not my starting tight end, I could see picking him up again. I think he is freaky deaky, dude. He makes some crazy plays.
Jesus Christ.
What are we saying?
So, Brian, I have a question. Would you take Pitts or Swift?
DeAndre Swift?
Yeah.
No, Taylor Swift. You fucking.
What's DeAndre? Is DeAndre Swift a 6th round?
Late 6th.
They're both right around the same, I assume. In AD.
He's on the Bears now.
Pitts is around higher than him.
Okay.
I would, assuming again, if I'm between the two and I'm in the 6th round, I would take DeAndre Swift. Unfortunately, not a DeAndre Swift fan, but I do think he's going to be a starting running back. He's going to be a starting running back, and I think at the very least, he's a guy who sucks at ball carrier vision. I think that's one of my favorite things I like to look for in a running back is can they find the holes and can they hit them? DeAndre Swift is maybe the worst starting running back in the NFL at that, and that really sucks. But despite that, I think Caleb Williams being there is going to juice that offense up, and at the very least, he's going to get touches, he's going to get catches, and he'll probably find the end zone a couple times. I mean, that was kind of a situation last year with Philadelphia. So taking him in the 6th round would not be the worst thing ever. And he probably would not be your RB1 or even your RB2 if you took him in the 6th round. So as a flex player, absolutely give me DeAndre over Kyle Pitts.
So I don't know. Just because I don't think I like Swift. He was RB20 behind probably the 2nd best line in football last year. And you're taking him to a worse line, a way harder division to rush the ball against. And I don't know. I think I kind of hate Swift's situation, honestly. But I don't know. Yeah, I just thought that would be an interesting question.
Yeah, I think he'll end up, like I said, man, at the very least, he'll be fantasy relevant because he'll be a check down master.
Yep.
Like he'll probably catch 5 balls a game, all on the line of scrimmage. Probably. He'll probably have less than 50 total receiving yards, but he'll get 5 catches, 6 catches. He'll get 7, 8 targets. He'll be a guy that Caleb Williams leans on because all of his other targets, I think, are going downfield for a lot of it. I think that's what the Bears have decided that they want to do. They tried to do with Fields last year. It didn't really work out. So this year, I think it's going to be checkdowns and throwing it downfield and having an explosive offense. That's why I'm in on Caleb Williams. But I think they're going to throw a lot of passes. And I think DeAndre Swift will catch some of those balls that maybe he doesn't deserve to. He's not a good runner between the tackles by any means, or outside of the tackles. He's really just not a good runner in general, if I'm being honest. But he's going to catch balls. He's going to get in the end zone a couple times. It's just going to happen.
Yeah.
Reminds me a lot of Austin Eckler.
One question I want to pose to you guys. I know in our league for redraft, usually people save the last 2 rounds for defense, special teams, and kickers. But assuming like the round before that, or even if you do wait until the last 2 rounds, is there anyone that you guys are like really hoping to like snag at that that late that you hope is gonna put up some numbers in like a flex spot or anything along those lines?
JMO.
Yeah. You think he'll go that low?
I think he's gonna drop significantly. He'll
That's
probably be
fair.
somewhere around round 11, 12, something like
Okay.
that.
Okay. I mean, his upside,
The
significant.
upside's
So
through the roof, right?
yeah. Yeah. I don't have anyone. I don't have anyone like right now. I think those guys will come up later as the training camp buzz kind of comes in more, things like
Yeah.
that. Like the fucking A chains and all those right before the season started last year, and then boom, they killed it. So
Yep.
I haven't seen that much buzz about a lot of those players yet. So
Yeah.
I don't have a great opinion about it. Ask me again, maybe August 1st though, and I think we'll get a lot clearer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if you asked me this time last year, I wouldn't have been in on Puka.
Right.
But
Yeah.
after all of the buzz and everything, he was like the first person after I picked up in Dynasty after he went undrafted. So
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, one person I might pick up just for the hell of it is Luke McCaffrey, just to see. I don't know that he's gonna do anything. I don't think he's
Rice
really gonna
legend.
be fantasy relevant, but um I think he could be worth taking, like if he's still there in the last round or something along those lines.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely worth taking up a roster spot for sure.
eh, you never know.
I'm pretty certain. Well, I don't even know what team he's on. What team is he on?
He got drafted to Washington.
Commanders.
Command? Oh, not a fucking chance. Good luck. Who's he beating out?
Well, I mean, that team is just such a disaster lately that he could
They're
very
loaded with
easily be a
talent.
starting
I
spot.
don't think it was the roster that was a big issue, especially not offensive. They just didn't have a QB.
I'm just saying, if he's there at the last round and there's really no one else piquing my interest, I might snag him just for the hell of it.
Yeah. I think you should get Robbie Gold while you're at it, buddy.
Yeah, right. How about you, Brian? Anyone later rounds that you think would be a really good pickup that's like projected to go that late that you think would be good for sneaky flex spot or anything along those lines?
Uh, yeah, like I said before, you got Kendrick Bourne, you
Oh my
got
God.
Drake May, you got there are a few guys I talked about that were projected to go undrafted. So
Yeah. Any other guys you want to talk about?
Oh, here's another one. Just off the top of my phone because I don't have a phone here. Hey, Damian Pierce potentially
Ooh, yes.
being projected undrafted. Joe Mixon is there, and I think a lot of people are just like, "Oh yeah, Joe Mixon, 3 down back, forget about it." Joe Mixon's kind of old, and Damian Pierce is definitely going to still have a role in that offense, and maybe not having to kind of carry the ball 3 times consecutively. Maybe he can get kind of a touchdown vulture position there going.
Mhm.
You know, you could see a Jamal Williams kind of thing there happening potentially, where maybe Joe Mixon gets 60 yards on the ground, and then Damian Pierce knocks it in for a 2 yard touchdown and ends up getting most of the points on that drive.
Yeah, I could see it
And
definitely
again,
being cool.
we talked about DeAndre Swift and lack of ball carrier vision. Damian Pierce has maybe some of the best ball carrier vision in the league. He just got stopped short a lot of the time last year.
Yep.
But he is their definitive goal line back, and I think he'll continue to be that with Joe Mixon there too. So he's a guy, again, projected to go undrafted. You need a sleeper, flyer running back. You're like, hey, I maybe need somebody on my bench in case somebody gets hurt. He's right there. And then if Joe Mixon gets hurt too, like Damian Pierce is going to be an every down back all of a sudden, and he did a pretty good job of that his rookie year. So Damian Pierce, look out for him.
Yeah, I definitely think he
I
can fit into that role better than, like you said, the 3 runs right in a row sort of running back. I think he's gonna have a lot more fantasy potential now, honestly. Like you said, punching it in on the goal line, getting that first down, the check downs. Um, I think he's gonna have a better season, and it's kind of surprising that what you're seeing he's going undrafted and everything. I'm definitely
The
not
fall
taking
off
him
was
in
real.
I'm definitely not taking him super high or anything. But as we were just talking about players that you could snag in some of the later rounds, he's definitely one that I think I could definitely get in like the 9th or 10th round, maybe something along those lines, where I wouldn't be too upset with getting him.
I think in that same vein, I would probably, if it's super, super late, I would probably take Zeke again because I think he's back on the Cowboys for one role, and that's just to get touchdowns. Because I think they had the worst like red zone efficiency when they were within 5 yards. So I think that's the whole thing is just to let that big bowling ball just fall forward and hope it gets in the end zone. So
Is
it might be fun one to have.
is he going to be drafted too high though, just because he's coming back to the Cowboys and name recognition though?
I don't think
I-
so. He's old. He's had what 3 terrible seasons in a row. I think
Mhm.
the hype on him is done.
Okay.
And I think this is a much better role for him, where everyone understands he's just a fat old bowling ball now, and just he's not what he used to be. It's cool. It's whatever, dude. Like do
Yeah.
your thing, bro. But you're not that good anymore.
yeah. I mean, like for reference, Gus Edwards is being drafted ahead of him right now.
Mhm.
Who's is J.K. getting drafted above Gus? J.K.
As he
Because I
should.
know
No,
they're
no.
both from the Chargers, so I didn't know. But
Gus
J.K.
is
He's allergic to the field. He steps on his fucking knee collapses. So I'm just not sure
yeah.
what's going to happen with him.
Gus is RB 37 currently, and JK is RB 45.
If JK can stay healthy, he's a hell of a running back. He's allergic to fucking the air or something, and I don't know what it is.
Well, I think
Yeah.
either of those teams.
That Chargers running back.
Oh, go
You're
ahead,
going to get
Brian.
a
Go
ton of
ahead.
volume.
Sorry, I believe there's a delay happening now.
There is.
Yeah.
But I was going to say any of those Chargers running backs, whoever ends up taking that backfield is going to be really, really good. So if it's Gus, if it's JK, I don't care. You got to leave the draft with somebody.
Hmm.
That's kind of how I feel about that Cowboys room too. Is it's going to be on a successful offense. They're going to get plenty of red zone trips. So if you can find, in the 11th round, if you can find a starting running back that's going to vulture touchdowns, I mean, it's
I think
really
that's
worthwhile.
some of the best value you can get at that late of the draft, honestly, I think.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, right now their running backs are Zeke, and then the guy they had last year, Rico Dowdle, and
Yeah.
then fucking Deuce Vaughn's still there. And then Royce Freeman. Shout out Royce Freeman. I didn't know he's on the league. That's crazy. Yeah, that's a no-brainer, I think, to get someone like him. Yeah, I don't. I mean, yeah, if he's going to get you touchdowns, so why not?
I think it's like a Jamal Williams situation, right? Where,
Oh, exactly.
he just takes over your roster because, hey, he's going to get a touchdown every single week. I mean,
This
sure,
guy's fucking trying out every room in his house. Jesus.
Zeke might rush for 30 yards on 15 attempts or something like that, but
Yeah.
he's going to get you a touchdown. So whatever.
One other thing I want to talk about before we end the episode here. We mentioned earlier about our redraft league, how Rookie of the Year wins some money at the end. How soon do you think it'll be until someone reaches just to get that payout, basically?
Fucking, I don't know, 4th round probably.
You think? I guarantee
Yeah,
someone takes
yes.
him pretty early.
If you get $50, if you're paying your way back to the league, like it's worth it. Why not? If you don't think
I
if your draft's not going good, might as well just get every fucking rookie you can.
Yeah. I think because he's done this before, I think he'll do it again. I think Caleb is going to draft Caleb Williams early, like second or
Yeah.
third round, which I will be okay with because that means a quarterback got reached for and there's
More
someone
running
that can do that.
backs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jane
Yeah, more
Daniels, he'll
running
get
backs.
Jaden, and he'll get Drake May.
I hope I leave with Jaden Daniels, man. I'd love to get Jaden Daniels.
All right. Thanks everyone for listening to the episode. Hopefully we had some interesting takes on where to take players, where we think they're going to fall, players we think are going to have good and bad seasons. And can't wait to be back for next week's episode. See you guys.
I'm already salivating.